call this to order. Joe, how are we doing on the, we got a thumbs up. You guys don't even have to sit down because we will rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we've got the approval of the memorandum of the November 1st, 2021 regular meeting. A copy has been posted. Unless there's any questions, I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Second from Councilor Burke. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Okay, the memoranda of the November 1st, 2021 regular town council meeting is approved by a vote of 6 in favor, 0 opposed. We've got requests to speak on agenda items. I've got 3 requests to speak. First up is, well, I'll just sort of set the rules. You've got 3 minutes. If you come up, just give your name and address for the record. I'll start your 3 minutes after that point. Bethany Narkowitz, probably murdered that. I apologize. Oh, all right.
Good morning. I'm Bethany Narkowitz. I reside at 1005 Oak Ridge Drive. I serve on the Pedestrian Mobility Advisory Committee. And on behalf of the committee, we believe that the town council should vote in favor of the crosswalk at 975 East and Oak Ridge Drive, as well as the additional appropriation for the signage and the pavement markings. 2 years ago, my son James and I presented right here to the safety board regarding that intersection. At that time, the community support was strong. We gathered over 200 signatures in 2 weeks. And the safety board had approved it for further evaluation. It took some time, but I'm grateful to see this be before you here today. The crosswalk will improve the safety to the for so many kids and adults crossing 975 for multiple reasons, to commute to and from PVE, ZMS, and the high school, as well as many individuals and families that use Oak Ridge as their route to the rail trail, Turkey Foot, Zion Aqua, and the village. I think the walk and bikeability of Zionsville is one of our greatest assets. Our streets and paths are used year-round by runners, walkers, and bikers of all ages. It's amazing to drive past our schools and see so many kids either on foot or on bike. The opportunity being presented today is just another step in improving the safety of our community. There is more work to be done, but we're confident things are moving in the right direction. On behalf of the committee, we'd like to thank Mayor Styron and Mr. Lance for their efforts up to today leading to this moment and for allowing community members like ourselves to participate and contribute to the process. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Bethany. Appreciate it. And thanks for serving on that committee as well. Next, we've got Pauline Potter.
Hi, good morning. My name's Pauline Coder, and I live at 872 Franklin Trace over in Colony Square. I as well serve with Bethany on the committee, and I'm very grateful for the amount of time and effort that Lance and his team and the mayor have given us for consideration. I think you'll see that the analysis is extremely objective. It is a difficult task to manage all of the wants and needs of the community. I think you've probably heard everybody wants a crosswalk, right? Well, I think you see that this committee has been very objective in defining where, when, and how to put a crosswalk for consistency. I want to share that my son was hit by a car crossing Halshop Road. The car was going 37 miles an hour. I say that because I do not think that traffic signs alone will deter people from not paying attention. I think the things that you'll see later are almost required in this day and age because people just, they don't see what they don't see. You know, you see it so many times, you don't even pay attention anymore. And some people don't even realize how fast they're going. So I encourage you, please, to definitely consider this and fund this project. It's extremely important to the community. And I concur with Bethany. Walkability and safety is really one of the things that people are looking for in a community. It increases our property values and provide safe access for all of the beautiful and wonderful things that this town provides for our citizens. So thank you.
Thanks, Pauline. Thanks for serving as well on that committee. And I apologize, I butchered your name. I've got an easy one last. I've got Jordan Walters. I think I got that one right.
I'm Jordan Walters. I reside at 9883 Oak Ridge Drive. I'd like each of you to consider a vote to approve the crosswalk. I didn't know I was speaking this morning, so I didn't prepare anything. One thing I can tell you is that myself and the father next to us, Eric Lau, stand in the middle of the street just about every morning to stop traffic. It's gotten the attention of the local police. Sometimes they bring a squad car there. That tells me in itself there's an issue. There's an issue. If you look at Oak Ridge Drive, it's become a drag race strip. People cut through to get to whatever. They don't stop at the stop sign. A lot of it are kids. A lot of it are kids who are new to driving, and they're married to their phones. When I was 11 years old, I grew up in Houston, Texas. I got drilled by a truck crossing the road without a crosswalk. It's a very important issue to me. My kids are 8 and 11. I don't want another kid to have to deal with what I dealt with. This is simple. It's not a political issue. Money's there. It's a safety issue. Let's keep kids safe. Let's keep families safe who are crossing the street. It's not difficult. Please don't make it political. Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Jordan. Appreciate it. That is it for request to speak. Amy, anything else?
No, that's all we have.
All right. Next, we've got mayor and administration update. Amy, anything on there?
I do not have an update today.
Okay. I think, Jason, you had asked for an update last meeting.
Yeah, do you know, we were told in the October meeting about a strategic plan, specific to staffing needs with the fire department, the police department. And we were just asking for an update on timeline when that's going to be completed. Hopefully at this meeting, but sounds like that's not the case.
Yeah, I don't have that
Can I-
information for you at this meeting. I know they are working on it, and hopefully at the next meeting, we'll have more information.
Thank you.
I hope so. Next, we've got new business. First up, we've got the Boone County Habitat for Humanity presentation with Liz Kwa, who's the Executive Director of Habitat for Humanity, and Stacy Snively, board member. There's not a vote on this, counselors. This is just a presentation.
Good morning. I'm Liz Qua, Executive Director of Habitat for Humanity. This is Stacy Snively, one of my amazing board members. And I just appreciate the time to share our mission for Habitat for Humanity in Boone County. So first of all, our claim to fame is we were the first affiliate in Indiana since we've been building houses since 1984. So been around for quite a while. We're just finishing our 67th house. And if you've heard, Habitat for Humanity is a hand up, not a hand out. So we are a needs-based program in the community. We build only in Boone County, and we fundraise, for building only in Boone County. So when our applicants come to us, they come to us at an orientation, they apply, and we verify their need by doing some kind of home inspection. Most of our people are living, probably 60 to 70% of them are living with family and friends because they can't afford the rent here in Boone County. Or elsewhere. They don't have to live in Boone County to get a house here. They just have to want to live here. So they have a need. They pay us back a mortgage. So they have a mortgage just like any of you might have a mortgage or had a mortgage. The best part about it is it's a 0% interest. It's a 30-year loan. And that, that just is a partnership piece. And then the biggest part is they have to do sweat equity. So they do 100 hours of sweat equity, 200 total, 100 hours on the build sites. They learn how to take care of their house is built. For a lot of them, they've never used a saw or a hammer before. So it's really a good training on how to take care of the house. And then they do 50 hours of classes in Boone County, which is like a financial. And then there's also a class at the Caring Center that they take. And then they can have family and friends donate 50 hours. So it really is an amazing program. It's run by volunteers. We have a family services team that selects the homeowners and works with them. Volunteer budget coaches, volunteer mentors. It's a very holistic program. So Stacy will share a little bit more.
I've been a part of Habitat for the last 11 years. And right now, part of the reason that we are here is because we are out of land. So for the first time since I have been part of this organization, we are going into winter and we have nothing to build on. So this is the very first time we've been in this situation. That is due to the availability and the affordability of land right now. And that is across Boone County. So it's not just Zionsville. We've never built in Zionsville. The majority of our donor base is here, but we have never built in this community. And, we build in Jamestown, Thorntown, Lebanon, Whitestown, but across all those communities, we can't find anything to build on. So we have the funds. For the first time ever, we actually have a Zionsville resident that has donated $125,000 to fund one entire house. So we have the money, we just don't have the land. And so that's why we are here today, is to see if you could consider donating a piece of property.
And that piece of property, I believe, has been identified, correct?
Correct. It is, let me pull up the address here. It is next to the fire department. It's right here. No. Yes. It's at 5929 South 700 East Whitestown. So it's directly next to the fire station, across the street from the Boys and Girls Club. It's an ideal location for us. I mean, if you consider the location, proximity to the schools, the Boys and Girls Club. So yeah, shopping, access to the interstate for jobs and things like that. So it's an ideal piece of property. It is just over 2 acres. So obviously it's a large parcel of land. But yeah, it would set us up for this coming spring. We generally start building in April. Like I said, we're just in a dire situation. So we are here.
And we have a line of people that really need affordable housing. Most of our families have children. So we built for 11 children this year. A beautiful Syrian family was one of we're excited to bring that diversity to our community. That was in Lebanon. But yeah, we are desperate. There's no other way to say it.
Yeah.
I mean, in our time, Stacy's been around for 11 years. I've been around for 7, and we've never not had land. And it's very scary to move into this, when you're passionate about a project and you want to see it continue, and we don't have land for that. So we appreciate the consideration.
And my understanding is there could be up to 2 homes on the land that we're talking about. This is land I think that we'd acquired for Hathaway right away. That's not a question for you guys. I think it's more of a statement. I think counselors, the reason why we have the presentation today is just to make sure if there's any objection to that potential, because we would have to take that land that we acquired and then turn it over, or part of it over, to Habitat. They wanted to find out the openness to us having that.
Just for clarity, that's the property that we purchased so that we could put the sidewalk through, right?
Correct.
Okay.
That is correct. Any questions for the ladies here?
Has that house been cleared that was there? Or
No, the
is-
house, and then there's a house and a garage on the property.
It is currently
Yeah,
still there.
Yeah. It's a beautiful piece of property, and there's mature trees. It won't look, brand new. I mean, there's going to be, existing landscape around it. So.
And part of the discussion we had was, if this body chose to donate the land to Habitat, it would be sort of as is. So there's no financial requirement of the town to have to bulldoze that property. They even talked about potentially reusing the garage if it makes sense. So it's something that is just the donation of the land. There's no sort of site
Okay.
prep work that would have
Yeah.
to be done.
It would be
So,
no additional expense to the town.
Yeah, we have great partnerships that can help with that, house demolition and stuff. So.
very good.
I'm not opposed to it in any way. I think it sounds fantastic, and
Oh,
thank you for
wonderful.
coming. It's right next, I mean, is there any need that the fire department would, Jamie just walked in, but is there since it's right next door, is there any potential thought that since it's right there, that we would be maybe giving something away that we might want in the future that would be right there? Are there any plans for use for that for the fire department, or do they see any potential use from that down the road?
My understanding, and certainly someone's welcome to come up and correct me if I'm wrong, is there's been no currently identified use for that land. I know the fire department, maybe police too, has used that structure for training in the past, but there's no expansion plans for that fire station, that this would interfere. There is easements that would remain for the path and some of the infrastructure that we would not give away that wouldn't impact this project. Thank you.
Just a portion of the property would be absolutely wonderful too. If some needs to be left there for the fire department, and I don't know if they've used we have in the past gotten donated properties where we have allowed the fire departments, police departments to come in and use for their training. And then we take the house down. I don't know if it's been used for that purpose yet, but we really enjoy that partnership.
So it's 2 acres. Is that correct? So the max is 1 home per acre. Is that
we would follow whatever local building codes or
whatever is
just wonder if there's any
requested.
way to get more homes or more use out of that property if it's, since it's all together. And I guess I'm a little concerned with the maintenance of the 2 acres after there's a home on it and who's responsible for that. But other than that, I think
The homeowner would be.
it could be a good use of property.
And we had that discussion. The problem is, per our own zoning, is that once you get over 2, you then become a neighborhood. And that then starts becoming a lot more of a barrier to overcome for infrastructure you've got to put in and turn lanes and things like that, which is why Habitat's looking at 2, given their land need, kind of the path of least resistance. Was that, although I do share your concern about a new homeowner with an acre lot, just making sure they've got the tools to succeed.
And we would, like I said, if we could make it less, the lot size, and if the town's got
Smaller,
a
yeah.
portion of it, then, really, I don't know what the street frontage minimum is. So we could do whatever minimum street frontage would be required to, minimize the size of the lot.
I mean, it's building any home in Zionsville, so it's the same
Same, okay.
process, materials,
Yeah, right.
requirements that exist. So it's really just the land donation. There's no other ask. Any concerns, I guess, counselors, if they started this process? Okay. All right. Well, appreciate the good work you guys do. Thanks for coming. Okay, next we've got a crosswalks presentation and consideration of a resolution establishing a crosswalk location in Zionsville. Mr. Lance, this is your show. This is resolution 2021-17.
Thank you and good morning, council. Kind of excited to be here this morning and bring to you sort of the dawn of a new day here in Zionsville. I think it's going to pave the way for lots of opportunities in the future. Thank you for the comments that came from the audience this morning. And as soon as we get going here, very good. I'm not showing this on my computer. I will go off of the screen. As you see on your agenda, you have a resolution establishing a crosswalk based on the DPW's recommendation. Before we get there, I'd like to have a little bit of a discussion about crosswalks. Hopefully this is going to ring familiar to some, and this is probably new information for others. So we have basically a 3-tiered presentation this morning. First, a review of crosswalks, our evaluation methodology that we use in-house, and then specific to the resolution, a recommendation on the location on County Road 975 East. Crosswalks 101, there seems to be, I have encountered a lot of confusion, both on drivers and pedestrians, on exactly what a crosswalk does. So we're here talking about mid-block crosswalks, and this is going to be the last of the pretty pictures. Probably there's going to be a lot of words after this. But a mid-block crosswalk is a location that's marked for pedestrians to cross where traffic is not required to stop due to existing traffic control devices. What does the law say? I've seen a lot of permutations of this law in websites, on websites that are specific to pedestrians. They try and talk about what the law is. So I thought there's no better way to talk about the law than to take it right out of the Indiana code, which says, and I'm going to read this awkwardly phrased wording: when traffic control signals are not in place or not in operation, a person who drives a vehicle shall yield the right of way, slowing down or stopping if necessary to yield to a pedestrian crossing the roadway within a crosswalk when the pedestrian is upon the half of the roadway upon which the vehicle is traveling, or when the pedestrian is approaching closely from the opposite half of the roadway. Leave it to the state to make a simple concept as awkwardly stated as possible. So what this says is that basically don't hit somebody on the road. What it doesn't say is that pedestrian has the first right to take a step upon the roadway. So this is saying that vehicles still have the right, even at a marked crosswalk location, they still have the right of way over pedestrians who are waiting to cross. What are some of the pitfalls? Obviously, they can be a good and valuable tool in any community, but these prevent or provide, you'll see driver confusion and pedestrian confusion. Probably even encountered a time when a considerate vehicle has stopped to allow someone to cross a roadway, but yet the other direction of traffic has not. That pedestrian doesn't know whether to go, whether to stop, whether to wait, to acknowledge the person to stop. So there is confusion on all user sides of these locations. And remember, well, pedestrian frustration, you heard the comment of people, walking out into the road trying to compel people to stop. You may have pushed a button, you may have some flashing light, and you don't understand why people aren't stopping for you. So it leads to frustration of the pedestrian and perhaps unsafe behavior if they get frustrated enough to say, look, I'm just going. Remember that we are telling the importance of this exercise is we are assuming liability, because we are telling people that you should expect a reasonable level of safety when you cross the road at this location. So again, we've talked about inconsistent reactions by both drivers and pedestrians, and even in the state statute, it talks about false starts, pedestrians making movements as though they're going to cross to try and compel people to stop. And of course, nobody really likes to think about this when we're talking about the safety of pedestrians, adults, as well as children making their way to school. But multiple locations of these and the driver confusions and the inconsistent behaviors can really disrupt traffic flow during peak flow times. So as we do with every situation, we have guidance documents. The Indiana Manual on Uniform Traffic Control Devices covers this under Chapter 4C, which is addressing pedestrian signal crossing warrants. Now, this is the most often referred to section in this manual, which establishes our rules and regulations by which we should follow. And there are a number of factors that go into it: posted speed limits, number of lanes, pedestrians, et cetera, and even community population under some of these warrants. Now, this is a signalization warrant. There is no specific section that says marked crosswalk. All right, so you've got to find the code of best fit when you evaluate these. What it does is distill several of these factors into a very basic graph. All right, and across the x-axis at the bottom, you have vehicles per hour. And on the y-axis up the side, you have the number of pedestrians. And you can see that to even get onto this level, this threshold, you've got to have in excess of 100 pedestrians per hour. So these are really geared towards college campuses, highly urbanized areas, downtown. Frankly, we're just probably never going to have the opportunity or the occasion in our community to meet these warrants. However, the methodology is sound. So what do? Let's take these principles, let's develop our own local decision criteria so that we can justify and quantify needs at these locations. Some time ago, I polled our peer communities, Noblesville, Carmel, the usual cast of characters. What do you guys do? And it ran the gamut from anywhere from, if it makes sense and we all kind of nod and agree, we'll go ahead and put a crosswalk in on one end of the spectrum, up to the extreme, which I believe was Noblesville. And it said, if we don't meet the MUTCD standards, we're not going to consider this location at all. So there's quite a variety of approaches across all communities. So taking that methodology that's contained in the MUTCD, we wanted to come up with a local decision criteria to avoid subjectivity, why here, why not there, and use solid data-driven decision processes. So we came up with a three-tiered approach. The first is a very high level. It's a series of about 7 questions, yes, no. If it passes muster, just at first blush, then we say we have a location that we should take a look at in more depth. Step 2 is the data collection. And finally, 3 is looking specifically at this site to see what existing conditions may warrant special considerations. So that initial high-level scoring, again, I told you there's about 7 questions, and it's a simple yes, no, yes being a positive trait, no being a negative trait. If you hit 4 of those or more, then we would take this location and advance it to a data collection. Phase 2 being data collection, how much use is there? We go out and we have to take counts, and we want to make sure that we capture these counts at the prime conditions. And spring and fall, basically, when the weather is good, people are out actually walking, they're not kept indoors for other reasons, and that school is in session so that we can get a picture of the maximized use at these locations. And of course, we always have recent traffic data in-house that we can use that to compare to the pedestrian volumes. Going back on the left side to that chart that shows you the MUTCD chart, the one that I don't think we would ever find a location that would pass muster with that. And way down there in the lower left-hand corner, as a sense of scale, is where we are establishing our local criteria, things that we think are the break points for our needs locally. And of course, that on the right side, that scale there is that local threshold blown up. And you can see we have a basic criteria of 10 pedestrians per hour. And I will mention, if I have not already, that when you take pedestrian counts, it's a generally accepted practice to count youths or students twice. Finally, the third phase of the evaluation process is what you often may hear me refer to as engineering opinion. And that's taking a look from a critical point of what specifically is at the site, what may need to be changed. Is there anything there that does not support a crosswalk that can't be changed or modified? After we run through these three tiers of evaluation, then, as you heard, the Pedestrian Mobility Advisory Committee is an ad hoc committee to advise the mayor and integrate with staff. So we bring these back at each phase of our evaluations and have a discussion with this committee. Is where we're going making sense? Our scoring process is dynamic in that if we find that it does some anomalies exist that may force us to tweak our process, we are of course prepared to do that. Assuming everything at a location is found to be favorable, then we would develop a specific design and we would recommend to you the resolution, which you will hear shortly, per section 70.29 of the Code of Ordinances, which authorizes the town council to establish crosswalks and other safety zones. And because we are going to use a more robust signage plan, we will typically come to you with the request to buy the actual flashers, because those are not wildly expensive, but they are outside of the typical scope of what we would purchase throughout the year under our normal operating funds. We plan this PMAC, this PMAC has identified 12 to 13 locations around town. 8 of those dozen or so have scored well at the initial high level scoring. So we are going to be looking at 2 locations a year is what we propose to do, one in the spring, one in the fall, to capture those optimal times. Each one of these locations results in at least 60 hours of staff of video time, essentially, that you're watching videos and counting people. So it's not without a significant effort that goes into capturing this data. As I mentioned, we are going to establish what's called the Rapid Rectangular Flashing Beacon, or the RRFB signage at most locations. There may be occasions where this is not warranted, but this is going to be, for all practical purposes, our baseline signage plan, and the purpose or the reason that we'll be asking for additional funding as these locations come to you. We currently have 3 of these around town, one at 5th and Oak, which was established in a process just like this several years ago, as well as a couple out near the Hampshire subdivision, which resulted from a commitment made of the developer by the Plan Commission. Finally, part 3, the last part specific to this location at County Road 975, also referred to as Pleasant View Road at Oak Ridge Drive. We have run this through our scoring process, and it passed with flying colors at each stage. Here you can see we've plotted, again, that 27 pedestrian is an adjusted count, counting youths twice. So we are well above our local threshold for consideration. And although we are doing this work in-house, and should you approve this location, we will be doing this in-house, but we do come up with our specific plans to that location. It's a sign plan you can see there on the left in the large diagram. And then there are some sidewalk modifications because these crosswalks need to be appropriate and suitable for all users, regardless of ability. With that, it is our recommendation at the location of County Road 975 East at its intersection with Oak Ridge Drive that this location meets all of our local evaluation criteria, is an appropriate and justified location for the establishment of a marked crosswalk, which will meet all design standards, and that the community will benefit from the provision of this crosswalk. Thus ends the third and final part of my presentation this morning. I'm happy to answer any questions or have any further discussion that you would like to have. Otherwise, we can move on to the resolution as you guys see fit.
Questions, councilors? Lance, is there software that can do the pedestrian counting for you versus the 60 hours of time to,
It's very expensive because you've got to have, it's a recognition type software.
yeah, sure.
And it does develop a metric, but we can go out for essentially no cost and capture the data. All of the cost is in the processing, the post-processing. So if a person does not watch it, you still have to spot check it because you don't necessarily can trust the software. So you've got to do data checks, and that you can use those for any type of study, but it's in the thousands of dollars. And I just don't feel it's justified when you can watch video, at 4 times the speed, give or take, and quickly get to those areas of concentrated use. So just because we have 60 hours of video doesn't mean we watch.
Okay,
60
that's, I
hours
guess,
of
what I
video.
was wondering about. My fear with these has always been, if one comes in front of us, then next meeting, there'll be 100. And so I appreciate the process of quantifying what they are and saying how many we're doing and scoring them before they get here, so that we aren't just subjectively saying, yay, nay.
Absolutely.
And have data behind it. So I appreciate this approach to identifying and approving these. So thank you for that.
And as I said, this is a dynamic process. And if we encounter glitches, we can weight scores. We
Sure.
can take any number of steps to make sure this aligns with the goals and directives and needs of our community.
Yeah, I'm glad to see it. Obviously, we reviewed this particular area in a safety board a couple of years ago. And it's been a specific point of emphasis for folks in my district. Obviously, this is in my district. And even so much so that the mayor and I discussed it in our September one-on-one. So I appreciate the process that you've gone through. And, for the record, I'm certainly supportive of it.
Thank you.
Just a question. This isn't necessarily for this meeting, but these kind of things, do they necessarily need to come before council? It seems like it's a process that could be made at the administrative level. Is it because of appropriations that it has to come before council? I'm guessing it's in statute somewhere.
Yeah, I think just to be safe, we were running them through council, but given there's only up to 2 a year, I thought it was appropriate. And as Mr. Lance said, there'll probably be an appropriation that follows each one of these, given the flashing requirements. And so
Okay.
I didn't think it was going to burden down the agenda too much.
No, I don't mind hearing about them, but it seems like something that a decision like anything else that could be made at the administrative level, that doesn't seem like it needs council approval necessarily. So
It is in the, I'm sorry, go
That's
ahead.
okay. I think we're going to say the same thing. I think it's because in Zionsville, Counselor Choi, we have the traffic code in our code of ordinances. So we typically list out any, crosswalks, speed bumps, streets, speed limits. And so, I think we typically handled it. You have to go actually back into the salary or into the code of ordinances and amend that traffic code. So that's why it comes back through the council.
We could certainly take a look, if it's your desire ever in the future, to remove this reference in the code. As Heather mentioned, unlike traffic code, which will specifically list locations, there is no tabular summary within our code. It just says you can establish them. It doesn't track them within the code. So if you like, we could take a look at moving this to an administrative function in the future. Of course, any funds requested would have to come back before you.
funds requested, I understand. I'm just thinking back to when we were discussing stop signs before or speed bumps before, that those kind of things I don't see as necessarily needing to come before council to talk about.
Stop signs absolutely would have to, because it is in the traffic code and each stop location is identified in our traffic code. So you guys are still the masters of the local traffic laws. So there are certain elements that will always come to you, but there are some like this that we could look to make more of an administrative function as well. And of course, in the future, I won't be so long-winded with these. We'll jump right to the recommendation at the end, right? So this is hopefully the last time you'll have to see the full dog and pony show.
Okay.
Lance, you mentioned Hampshire has one that's been committed to. As Zionsville develops more in the future, is there some kind of trigger to instigate that application to have those as more developments come?
This was a unique situation that goes back many years ago to Hampshire's first iteration back in the mid 2000s. It involved a rezone, and when a rezone comes before the Plan Commission, that opens the door to exactions that can be made on the developer. However, we don't want the development process to usurp our own internal process. So when we have these locations that may be associated or in proximity to a new development, or they're going to contribute substantially, it may be something that is requested of the developer, but I don't think at this point it could be mandated.
So, and the developer of Hampshire paid for that?
There are two that the Plan Commission required of Hampshire to install. Due to the nature of that, when that subdivision began its life, it was trifurcated. It existed on the several sides of a roadway. There was a centralized community amenity center. So you had residents living across a county road that would arguably be frequently attending or going to the amenity center. So because of that relationship, the Plan Commission thought it prudent to establish these and require them of the developer through the rezone process. And of course, the northern, there are two associated, one on 500 South and one on 400 South. The one on 400 South ended up serving what is becoming the Big Four corridor, because that corridor has been realigned to avoid some conflicts with residences. And so now that's actually a very valuable crossing because we're using it for the Big Four crossing.
Thank you.
Any other questions, counselors? Or any motions?
I'd make a motion to approve resolution 2021-17.
Second, Counselor Plunkett. I heard Counselor Trailer first. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Resolution 2021-17 is approved by a vote of 6 in favor, 0 opposed.
Thank you very
Mr.
much.
Lance. Now we got to pay for it. So we've got a consideration of a resolution for an additional appropriation for signs and pavement markings for crosswalk 975 East at Oak and Oak Ridge Drive. This is resolution 2021-18. Lance, anything you want to add to that? Or Tammy, anything you want to add to that?
No, I will just point out this is in the Cumulative Capital Improvement Fund, a CCI fund, which is typically a very low balance. There's only about $200,000 in there. And I believe that brings in about $50,000 a year. It's not a big account for you to consider. And I don't even know that next year there is currently anything contemplated in this budget. So this is just kind of a low value fund that sits around until it's got enough to do something, or we find a specific use that would be appropriate for it. So as mentioned, this is to fund specifically the flashing light assemblies, as well as what we call hot tape, or the robust plastic heated application pavement markings to delineate the crosswalk.
Dollar amount is, if I remember right, $7,000.
$9,000.
I was close.
As I recall. I'm trying to click and talk at the same time.
Well, it's not that much either way. Counselors, any questions? Actually, this is a public hearing, so I've got proof of publication. If anyone wants to come speak on this matter, we'll open the public hearing. All right, I'll close the public hearing.
Hey, Josh, I was just signing those. So did you say what the cost was? Did you say a specific dollar amount? We don't know.
It's up to $9,000.
Okay.
All right, let me find out the exact amount.
It says up 9,000.
Oh, there we go. Yep, nine grand. Any questions, concerns, motions?
Motion to approve resolution 2021-18.
First from Counselor Melton, second from Counselor Burke. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Resolution 2021-18 passes with a vote of 6 in favor, 0 opposed.
Thank you very
Thank
much
you,
for your
Mr.
time
Lance.
this morning.
We've got one other matter, counselors.
Actually, President Garrett, I have one quick other matter.
Yeah,
I just
sorry.
received a message per Chief Van Gorder. The strategic fire plan should be completed in December before the end of the year.
Very good.
So I just want to give you that update.
Good timing. Thank you, Amy. Appreciate that. Looking forward to seeing that. We were asked to basically retroactively approve an offer letter for Jared Logston that was dated September 9th, 2020. for the Parks Department. Apparently because of the offer amount, well, Heather, you explain this.
Yeah,
I want to get this right.
I know Tammy is here as well, and I believe that there is also a representative from the State Board of Accounts who we may want to hear from. So I'm looking at Tammy to jump in if I misstate anything, but my understanding is that we made an offer to the Parks Department Superintendent in 2020. And that offer amount was above the amount we published in the salary ordinance. And so we did not come back to the council at that time to amend the salary ordinance. It was outside of the range that we typically give for those types of positions. And so since that had not been corrected in 2020, we now need to have, as part of our audit for the State Board of Accounts, a vote today to approve that amount. Typically, we would not approve, an offer letter for an employee. The Parks Department, under our reorganization and under state statute, actually appoints the superintendent of, so that's a position that their board actually would appoint with consultation from the mayor, which is included in our reorganization. And then typically we don't have any requirement in our reorganization to come back and amend the salary ordinances. Towns, as a best practice, use the salary ordinance process, but it isn't mandated like it is for cities. So it's something we've always done. Our reorg requires it specifically, and it states that the mayor can actually adjust a compensation up or down throughout the year for employees of the town. The only requirement in state statute is that we can't change the compensation of officers. So for any of you as town council members or for the mayor herself, that position can't go up or down. But for employees, she has some discretion to do that. So I think this is really, as I've looked through it, just a clarification for the State Board of Accounts that we were aware that that position amount was outside of the published salary ordinance that the council had previously approved. And there are two people here with much more information. Tammy's giving me a thumbs up, which I feel like is an accomplishment. So I'm going to go with that.
And this is just a procedural thing. There's nothing to do with Mr. Logston or his performance or anything. This is just a check a box for an audit.
Absolutely. I think we missed a step in 2020, and we're just going back and making sure that is clarified so that we can have no exception to the audit for that particular item.
So legally doing this doesn't violate anything with
No.
State Board of Accounts, reorg, anything like that. It's
No.
just, okay,
Yeah,
great.
no, it does not.
Any questions on that, counselors? More technical in nature. With that, then I'll make a motion to retroactively approve the offer letter dated September 9th, 2020 for Park Superintendent Logston. Any second on that?
Second.
Second, Counselor Trailer.
I believe that you have to state the dollar amount and the allowance.
Okay,
And
I
they want
will-
to see that in the minutes.
Let
as
me,
well.
let me amend that motion. Then I'll make a motion to approve the offer letter dated September 9th, 2020 for the park superintendent, which includes a starting salary for the position at $90,000 plus a moving allowance of $8,000. Anyone second that?
Second.
Oh, Counselor Melton beat you this time. All right. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? A very long motion approved, 6 in favor, 0 opposed. Next, we've got claims. Councilors, any
You were
questions?
still on other matters. I hadn't gotten a chance.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I have
Sorry,
one.
sorry, Brian.
I just wanted to clarify one thing, and I'm not trying to overstep here, but there's been a lot of people asking me, and I know probably asking a few of you about there's and I would invite Joe or the mayor, either one. They're both here to come up and correct me if anything I say is inaccurate. But there's this OSHA mandate vaccine mandate that's in the court system right now, and through AIM, they've advised that towns and actually even private sector, we're preparing for it as well. But for people to just be prepared for this mandate should it go in place. However, there is no mandate going in place on December 5th. It is still in the court system, and until it's out of the court system, nothing will be going into place as far as, you know, mandates go. So just to clear up any confusion, because I know there's people in the public that that have gotten some emails and some concern about that. But if anything I'm saying is inaccurate, let me know. But I think that's the case. That it's until it plays out in court, there is no mandate going in place for Town of Zionsville employees.
And I can share a little bit more about that. I think so. You know, part of the federal OSHA requirement that you referenced, Counselor Trailer, requires that if you are a federal contractor receiving federal funds, that you comply with the vaccine mandate. And that date by rule has been moved to January the 4th. The states, so for example, the town of Zionsville, because we take federal transportation dollars and our contracts while they are directly with the state of Indiana, those contracts state that, you know, we are all the boilerplate that the feds require. And there's some nuances in that rule, which I will share. We're trying to work through at our law firm because it is complicated. And there's other things that we take, like Medicaid, which has a separate rule under CMS, Centers for Medicaid Services, Medicare Services. We do that through ambulance billing. So there's multiple touches that the town's going to have to sort through in terms of what requirements apply. And CMS is different. They have a different heightened standard in their rule that just came out last week than the OSHA rules. So we're trying to understand how those two things will play out. All that being said is, you know, we are going to have to watch closely, to your point, the lawsuits that are filed. The state of Indiana, Governor Holcomb, through our Attorney General Todd Rokita, has filed a suit along with about 28 other states to block the requirement as it relates to the state of Indiana. I fully expect that there will be legislation creating additional definitions of exemptions that are stated in the federal OSHA and CMS rules. The timing on that's going to be a little dicey. We do come back into organization day at the legislature tomorrow. So we know that there's some legislative efforts or interest in trying to get something expedited through the process. But that's, you know, been an effort in Texas and Ohio, North Dakota, Montana, other states looking at it. And it's to date has not, you know, fully been implemented in any state. So we're watching it. I know the mayor's probably having to prepare for it because the timing is so tight. But, you know, I won't commit to all of you that I'm watching it as well on your behalf to try to, I'm happy to work with the mayor and her council to sort through it because it's very complicated and conflicting statutes and timing is tight. So.
Very good. Any other matters? Okay, now we can go to claims. Any questions on claims, councilors?
I've got a question on, we've got in the non-department total, or in the non-department, I guess, 999, we've got a legal fee in there that is $13,500 for employee matter. I'm assuming, and I don't necessarily particularly want to know what the employee matter is here. I'm just curious as to why that wouldn't be filed under a different department, specifically with whoever the claim is for.
Here's the claims expert.
Yes, so when we do the budget, we put the retainers, the council retainer under the council department, and then the administration one under administration. All other legal matters, because we can't predict what is going to happen throughout the year, go into the non-departmental. Also, there are some smaller departments, and so we wouldn't want to call that out, a specific employment matter in a specific department. So those are budgeted and spent out of the non-departmental legal line.
Okay, thank you.
Wait, Tammy, when you say they're budgeted, their budget is legal, like sort of a general legal
So yes, we have,
bucket?
We have yes, a
Yeah, okay.
legal object code within the non-departmental area of the general fund.
Yep.
Yes, so
Got it.
that you have visibility and can see where we are with the legal.
Okay,
Mhm.
thanks. That's what I thought, but I just wanted to confirm.
Amy, I'm gonna have a question for you too, if you save you a trip.
Sure.
All right, so, and this may just be me being irritable, but it very well maybe. But so going back again, we denied the additional appropriation for the MAC, and we continue to see MAC expenditures. Explain to me again, or I'm trying to feel better about it, because it just kind of burns that we turned down the additional appropriation, but yet it still keeps happening, even though we said no. So if you would just explain where that money's coming from to pay for these things when we specifically denied this particular item.
Sure. So you might see references to MAC in the claims, and that is just so employees, for instance, are still budgeted within their departments, even though they're sitting over in the MAC area. There might be office supplies and things that might be, say, have a description that says MAC, but those were budgeted in as general office supplies that they would need no matter where they were.
And does that apply to the, I think I saw like a cubicle in here for somebody in your department. That was just an additional staff person, or?
So, yeah, so we took a full-time position and broke it up into 2 part-time positions. And so we have like the court person is sitting over in the back area so that they're more accessible to the public. When someone walks in and has a question, then they can go right there and speak to the person.
And is that the cubicle we're paying for? In
Yes.
this?
Yes,
So
so that,
people in
and
the
there is
back?
no existing office available in the finance area right now. So again, we would have had to do something anyway.
But it's a cubicle in the MAC. Okay. Okay.
Hey, Tammy, just a question and a follow-up on
Yes.
that. So obviously these were approved budget expenses
Mhm.
pre-MAC. and you're Just
Correct.
kind of recoding them for yourself. So in the 2022 budget, will that be coded differently? Will MAC kind of have its own budget line item, or will it continue to be just departmental spend that would be applied to the MAC?
Currently, we are just doing the departmental spend. If there is a desire by the council to have that separate area, a lot of the cities and towns have like a customer service type budget. Then we can absolutely explore that and get that done.
Okay, thank you.
I mean, I think going back to Counselor Trailer's point, I would just like to know how much money was spent on the MAC, where it came from, and what wasn't completed because the MAC was done. I'm assuming there's a budget somewhere, there's a line item somewhere that has all the expenses. So I don't know when, I don't know, Amy, if that's something I email you for a request on or what I do.
We can pull that together.
Thank you.
Anything else? All right, I'll make a motion to approve claims.
Second.
Second from Counselor Choi. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
Okay.
Claims are approved by a vote of 5 in favor, 1 opposed. I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second also from Counselor Choi. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion to adjourn is approved by a vote of 6 in favor, 0 opposed. The next regular town council meeting is scheduled for Monday, December 6, 2021 at 7:00 PM right here in the Town Hall Council Chambers. Final notice will be posted in compliance with Indiana open door law. Thank you all.